Okay, I'm getting the thumbs up, so that means we can start. Good afternoon, I'm Sebastian Wölke. I'm here on behalf of No Planet B, and I'm happy to talk about our cooperation project with DM in the next 45 minutes. So, No Planet B, we also like to call it No Planet B 2.0 because the brand has existed before. In 2019, we were first present in the mass market, also in bio-supermarkets. And back then, we were a classic startup. My wife and I founded it together. That was a time when many small brands entered the mass market. And in all fairness, we have to say not many of them survived. And the two of us didn't have the power to keep the brand alive. So we reconsidered everything, we redesigned the brand completely, and we were lucky to be a joint brand with DM, the drugstore chain, since September last year, and I'd like to talk about that. We are the first upcycling beauty brand in the mass market. That is our focus. We would like to get away a bit from the classical beauty idea, or this idea of beauty always having to be something new and something more recent. We want to take a step back to look at what we have and to value the resources that we already have. And we're trying the whole thing not on our own, not even together with the product management team. It's also a brand for the Gen Z, so young adults between 16 and 28 years old. And that is why we had the idea to directly include that target group. So this brand was developed together with trainees at DM. So that's how they're called internally. And I'm going to talk about this on the one hand about product differentiation, upcycling, and about how can you manage to directly include your target group into the process the way we did. So a joint brand, a corporation brand, what does that mean? So No Planet B is not a home brand, it's not a startup brand either. So we're trying to combine the best of two worlds, the best of both worlds. So of course, DM is a very strong partner with extensive experience in product procurement and of course the sale and distribution of products. They have extremely good customer know-how and know-how in terms of sustainability. As a startup, what we bring to the table is our passion as founders, our experience in the industry. So we both work in FMCG. We have brand story, we brought the trademark. So the joint brand is an attempt to combine these two worlds in such a way that you can play to the strengths of both. And two ideally become three. So to start, who is No Planet B? What's the idea behind No Planet B? Together with our DM trainees, we produced a little movie. I'd like to show this, please.
Aus altem Kaffeesatz wird Shampoo. Olivenblätter pflegen auch die Haare. Olivio.
Rette Grapefruitschalen von deiner Dusche aus.
Wie bitte?
Ja, du hast richtig gehört. Wir verwenden sie bei No Planet B. All dies und noch vieles mehr steckt in unseren Upcycling Beauty Produkten.
Mit Inhaltsstoffen, die im Abfall landen und nicht genutzt werden.
Gemeinsam wollen wir zeigen, was man aus Ressourcen machen kann, die wir bereits haben.
Das Ungenutzte wird zusammen mit unserer Pflegeformel zu unseren mega Haut- und Haarpflegeprodukte. Wir kümmern uns um dich und um den Planeten.
Ja, No Planet B. Wir finden Wertvolles, wo andere Wertloses sehen.
Und du, ja du, kannst auch ein Upcycling-Hero werden.
Lass uns die Magie in dem sehen, was wir schon haben. Denn gemeinsam machen wir den Unterschied.
So this was our trainee core team, those who were involved in the development of the product from the very beginning, and they're really convinced by the brand. They're not just the faces of the brand. They took the whole journey together with us and are very close to the brand. And this was not an upscale production, as you can see. This was born from the spontaneous idea that we wanted, that we needed some sort of movie. So the trainees and I, we wrote the script, then we met up in Karlsruhe, and I think you can see it's not all perfect. We didn't even have a makeup artist, so if somebody had spots, then that was the case. Because as a beauty brand, we wanted to show real people, and we didn't want to conform to classic ideals of beauty. So nobody in that group was recruited by appearance, in terms of appearance. They were all invited to join in, and those who were particularly engaged and involved were part of the core team. Other trainees could get involved via a digital group, and the concrete things we did in the development process is something I'll tell you in a moment. So first of all, upcycling. So we are familiar with the topic from other areas like interior design. We all know about upcycling in that regard, or in fashion, that you take leftover textiles to make a bag. In FMCG, there's also something in the US. There's a seal, an upcycling seal for products. So these are resources which usually don't end up with us because maybe they're not nice enough, they don't look fresh enough, or they don't have the dimensions they should, or for whatever reason they wouldn't end up with us normally. Those of you who go back home on the train tomorrow, so the bistro at Deutsche Bahn actually brews beer from leftover bread. So when we wanted to do that in beauty, because there's so many resources that we leave untapped as a society. And why? What's behind that? So it's the idea of wasting less as a society. So of course the global north is what I talk about mainly because there's a lot of waste happening. And also laid down in Sustainable Development Goal 12.3. By 2030, we need to halve our per capita global food waste at the retail and consumer levels. We waste about 30% of the resources in the food industry. That's a lot, and CO2 and water, etc., etc. So this is our mammoth task to counteract that. And as a brand, of course, there's only very little we can do, but our great contribution can be by raising awareness and making people aware of that waste of resources that is happening. If we want to be able to achieve that, we need to go about in a way that people can take people along. We can't just present upcycling as leftovers. So it's got to be cosmetic and beauty. It's got to have a connection with the effect of the products, of course, and that is what our world is built upon. So you don't feel like you have to rescue some leftover resources. It's supposed to be fun and colorful and exciting, and ideally you want to be part of that. You don't just take pity. In very concrete terms, product development looks very different for us than other brands. Other brands, of course, also develop their stuff. And sure, you read trend reports, you look what's happening, what's trending abroad, what's happening in the premium segment. Can we translate that to the mass market? And that's all those things we cannot do at No Planet B. What we do is we look at the side and buy products from food production, for example. That is our concrete briefing to our partners. What are ingredients that we can use that may have been left unused until now? And how can we create the connection to the product? So find things that actually go well with a shower gel or a shampoo. In very concrete terms, an example, this is our shampoo bar. What are the upcycled ingredients here? Of course, we're far from making a product that's 100% upcycled ingredients. With good products, we manage 20% upcycled ingredients, which is a lot, but we have to continue to raise that bar, and we try. So what is in there? We have rice starch, which is a byproduct from the food industry. or a waste product actually. So this leaves a good feeling on the skin. Then we have coffee oil, which is a waste product from coffee production. You know that from other products. Caffeine strengthens your hair, so it has a reason for being there. Then we have olive leaves from the production of olives as a side product of the harvest. It can be used in a shampoo to give additional care benefit to the hair. And citrus fiber, which is a waste product from juice production, gives stability to the hair and gives stability to the product and helps create the consistency. So I have a high-performance product which also uses upcycled ingredients, waste products or byproducts from other industries. But when you call a brand No Planet B, it can't be the only criterion. So of course we want to be all about upcycling, but when you call a brand like that and you want to be relevant in sustainability, there's a lot of other boxes you have to tick. So this is, of course, a basic requirement for many brands by now, that the formulations are vegan, that there is natural ingredients, the packaging is recyclable, etc., etc. So we are not certified natural cosmetics. We tick a lot of boxes. We don't have no microplastics, no parabens, no silicons. But why aren't we natural cosmetics? If we wanted to be like natural cosmetics, and if we went for the seals and certifications, there's only a handful of ingredients we are allowed to use. So with No Planet B 1.0 we were certified. There were 2 upcycled ingredients we were allowed to use. So we would have narrowed down the playing field for ourselves. So we had to make the decision to go without the seals. We could say either as a brand we make a clear stance for side products from other industries, or we make a stance for natural cosmetics. It's very difficult to combine those two at the moment. And our focus is very clearly upcycling. One more point. Right now, we need affordable prices. You know, people always look at the price tag. So the goal of No Planet B was from the very beginning to make it affordable. We can't just make sustainability affordable for the premium segment. We have to be able to address the mass market and a broad target group. So our show gel costs €1.95. Our refillable soap costs €1.45. These are prices which may be above the traditional home brand price, but which are still affordable in the mass market. So this is our product range. We have 3 categories. One is soap, one is hair care product, and one is shower gels. So I don't have to talk about each of them, but the range is set up that way that we try to reflect the customer journey the way we would wish it to be. So somebody who doesn't really shop in that area, maybe they can start with a liquid product. For instance, if they say, I like the shampoo, in our intense repair shampoo for damaged hair, you can start with a classic format with a liquid formulation, and then you can switch to the plastic-free shampoo bar. It doesn't always work in real life, that would be too good to be true, but that's the idea behind it, to give people an entry into the brand and then give them the chance to switch to the no plastic product. The same with a dispenser. Maybe you start with a dispenser and later you get the refill bag. Our logo, this is a bit unusual. We don't have a fixed brand color, no color scheme. Our colors switch depending on the product, and that is something we worked out together with the trainees, because one of our brand values is diversity. So we don't want to think in stereotypes, and we want our logo to reflect that. So we don't just have one color for our logo. If I chose blue, I would typically be in a masculine corner. If I chose pink, I would be in a different one, where we stand for very different colors. So each product has a different color, which is something you probably wouldn't do in classic marketing. The second element of No Planet B is this whole topic of generational justice. It's not always good when old people decide what's good for young people. So us 2 founders, we're in our 40s, we have children of our own, but we don't know a lot of what 20-year-olds do today and what concerns them and what moves them. So we said we need to integrate the target group we want to reach into the development of the brand. So we want to build a brand for the next generation, from the next generation. So a join-in brand. So what gave us the idea? There was an interview with Christoph Werner in 2021, and he said that the Fridays for Future movement has changed our consumption behavior and will change the consumption society. Young people have really made a difference, and it's important for companies to take up on that idea. And it's important that it's not just the management giving those impulses, but that the company as a whole broadly gives that impulse. And particularly in home brand products, you can do that. So we added one and one together. So we said there's trainee branches, why not a trainee brand? And we suggested that, and that resulted in our next generation platform. And we gave this next generation a voice with that platform. And we declared this a trainee brand. So a trainee is drawn on the back of each product, so each of the trainees sort of got their own product, and they wrote the product text, the claims, etc. And it was a real highlight when the first batch of products was produced and you could pick up your own product. So this also means that the product texts are very different from how I would have phrased it as somebody who's worked in the industry for 20 years. They're using completely different wordings. It's very group specific. I would have phrased it differently, but it's probably much more appropriate to the target group. And it's important to know it's not just their faces on the products, but they were integrated in the whole process and in the communication as well. And at the end, it became a join-in brand. So at first, we wanted to really define what should the brand stand for. We knew what it would be like, we knew upcycling would be important, but the values and guiding principles of the brand were worked out together with the trainees and virtual workshops. This is one example. So at first, we thought about how do we describe upcycling, how will we depict that, what are things in the mission, in the values that are important to that generation. So diversity was a very important thing there. Tolerance was an important value. Not working with stereotypes was another important topic. So we saw it earlier. We had a pink shower gel with peach and grapefruit peel. And when you see this pink tube, everybody from my generation would say this is a classical shower for women, but it has a picture of Finn, who is a man, and that's good, because that generation says we're not thinking in terms of these stereotypes. Why shouldn't a pink shower gel be used by a man? But these are all elements which were driven from the group and impulses that were given by the generation and not by us in these workshops. So in product development, in concrete terms, it was like that. With packaging and ingredients, etc., we worked with that groups. So everybody took the products home, they got the scents, the formulation, etc. With the upcycled ingredients, you can see that we looked at what ingredients can we use. We cannot use the whole range like others. You can imagine it that you know, in the evening you have to take all the leftovers in the fridge and whip up some meal. You have to take whatever is there. Then we had a look at where do these ingredients come from, why are they byproducts, from which industry, and what are the properties that they bring to the table for this hair or skin product. For instance, for a refreshing shower gel. And all this information was combined to form the finished product. So each product was then illustrated, everybody could write their text, and that's how the products were born. And everybody could pick up their own product from the product line And particularly for the young employees, for your trainees, it was an immense experience. So as we said, we have this core team that is so enthusiastic about the brand. Why don't we bring this into communication? So these people became part of the social media world of No Planet B on their channels and on our channels. 2 trainees take care of our TikTok channel. I mean, us as 40+ people, if we were to do that TikTok channel, that would be extremely cringe, right? So they are much better at that. And I brought a few examples what it looks like and how the 2 of them are handling this.
Hey, ich bin Finn. Und ich bin Jenny. Wir sind von No Planet B und wir werden hier auf TikTok für euch Content drehen, also seid gespannt.
Wisst ihr, wenn mich einer fragen würde, was ich aus der Abteilung nicht mag, ja? Dann würde ich sagen, die Regalbretter.
Oh my God, you're so tall. You look like a giraffe.
That's why you dead built like a baked bean. A baked bean.
So schön. Die Welt ist so schön. Es ist einfach überwältigend, wie schön die Erde ist.
Diese wunderschöne Natur.
Manche Leute hat der liebe Gott kurz vor Feierabend gemacht, ist ja klar. Aber nutzt ja nichts. Muss ja auch mit solchen Leuten arbeiten.
Wahnsinn. Da habe ich ja richtig zu tun. Das habe ich mir nur eingebrockt. Mein Gott.
Ja, also wir werden definitiv nicht auf diese Ideen
So we
gekommen.
definitely wouldn't have come up with those ideas. But the young target group is much closer to the TikTok trends. Sometimes we get WhatsApp messages at 11:30 at night. Is this or that trend? Shall we do? Can we do that? Is that a good match for No Planet B? But all in all, they're doing this pretty independently. And as I said, they're very target group savvy, completely different from what we would do. It's a world of its own. And that is something that you learn as a founder, that you have to let go. There are people who are better at that than you are. You cannot micromanage everything and be the control freak. And the nice thing is that all of a sudden you can see there are people who are just as enthusiastic about your brand as you are, and they want to make the brand into something, and it's a great experience. And then at the end, of course, it's about placing this whole thing in the store, that the customers at DM can see the brand in place. And the branches, the stores really supported us, particularly those who had trainees in the group. They did really nice setups with, No Planet B products. And in autumn last year, they really supported us. And it just shows that the brand is really anchored in the company and is perceived as a DM brand. Another area which we are very happy about being part of is the branding campaign of DM. So studying and apprenticeship as TM can receive more value by No Planet B. You can actually train at DM and be connected with that brand. Right now there's a big challenge in finding new employees, and No Planet B can play a role in that. We can say these are projects that you can do when you do an apprenticeship at DM. It makes the apprenticeship more attractive and gives us a chance to be part of that as a brand. So we are part of campaigns that are advertising apprenticeships at DMs. There's pocket size shower gel, particularly for that purpose, that teases the apprenticeship. And this helps a DM finding employees. I think I'm doing pretty well for time, but I brought a few learnings, a few next steps, because Not everything is smooth sailing in market launches, so we're still at the very beginning regarding value streams of upcycled ingredients. A lot is happening, a lot will happen and still has to happen. There are suppliers who are much focused on that. For instance, we work with the Upcycled Beauty Company, which has focused on taking byproducts from the food industry and turn them into ingredients and extracts for beauty products. And it shows us that there's something in there, that this is a supply channel in the making. And we see that chance of raising awareness with people. Right now, upcycling is not well known in beauty products. Only 30% of people are aware of that, but the acceptance is super high once people understood that. So in market research, 75% of people said that they really support that idea, particularly when they know the product and the concept, and then they will buy the product. But you cannot see upcycling as rescuing, as a saving concept, because that always triggers this impulse. If it's something that's got to be rescued, then it's not high quality. So I'm basically asking people to take pity on the resource. Please save me or I'll end up in the waste. So that is something we learned. You have to present something as valuable, as high quality, and not as something that must be rescued from the trash can. Because that is something we see in the mass market. Customer benefit is still a priority number one for many. Once I've understood it's a high-quality product, then sustainability can take huge effect. But customer benefit must be there. Other than that, the target group we can reach is just simply too small. So if you would like to follow No Planet B, we're on Instagram, on TikTok, we're also on LinkedIn. Our journey will continue. We've collected many learnings, what we can improve about the products, and communication, about upcycling. We're still at the very beginning, and we're facing great challenges because there's no major brand who has already paved the way for us. So we're being the trailblazers in Germany, and we're happy about that role. And together with a strong partner like DM, I think we have a good basis, a good foundation to stand on. This is not to be perceived as competition for recycling. We're not saying that recycling is now no longer important. Upcycling is something completely different. It's supposed to complement recycling, open up new opportunities, which may help to improve those resource bottlenecks that we're seeing. Because the idea behind it, in the end, is of course that we all want ingredients in our cosmetics. But what we don't want is for our cosmetics products to be competition for food production. And I think that must be a priority. If we want to provide 8 billion people with food, it must be priority number one. I think none of us wants people to go hungry simply because they want a nice shower gel. So in the long term, we need to make better use of what we build and what we farm. So you can also use the grapefruit peel. There's nothing that speaks against that, in my opinion. Because after all, at Planet B, we love beauty, but we want to make beauty the most beautiful side issue in the world. And that is the priority we see. Food comes first, then comes beauty, and then maybe you can use natural products for personal care products with a clean conscience. Thank you very much. Thank you. Now we're doing so well for time. Are there any questions? Time for debate, time for discussion. There's a question here. Interpreter cannot hear the question if they're not using a microphone. Okay, microphone coming up. Thank you. How long did that process take from the workshops, the development together with the youngsters? That process took at least 1.5 years. The group had to come together first. The idea was there, but there was no blueprint. We had to see, how do we approach this? How do we organize ourselves? How do we organize the digital workshops? How do we find these people in the first place? So back then, DM started a a call in an internal group asking trainees if anybody was interested. So anybody was asked to participate if they wanted, and everybody was asked to contribute. And that is how this core group was formed. And they were on the project calls every 10 days or so and were involved in decision making. But it was like 1.5 years in total. Thank you. And I missed the beginning of your presentation, unfortunately. Not sure if the question was already answered. How did you approach DM? How did you manage to get them on board? Well, as a startup, we were part of their product range to begin with. And like many small brands, we couldn't make the quantities we needed in order to break into the mass market. So we were a self-financed startup by 2 people. My wife and I did that. So basically, we took out all our savings and then started the startup. And everybody called us crazy. My own mother wouldn't talk to me. But I said, we're doing that. Let's see how far we get. We got to a certain point, but no further. Then there was COVID and lots of other issues. And as a brand, we were phased out of the product range, and we didn't have the power to restart on our own. But we analyzed what went well, what didn't go well, what were our mistakes. And we talked about this with DM very transparently, and from that the idea was born. Or rather, we said, couldn't this become a classic DM home brand? Well, DM didn't quite agree, but there was the option to say, let's do this as a joint brand. And there was the rebirth of No Planet B, because we were in the range before as a classic startup. Cannot hear the question. Well, DM is the distributor. You just have to check the back of the products. But the trademark No Planet B is still with us. But we applied for a joint brand. But we were the ones who registered it. I would like to know, Sebastian,
customer or consumer engagement.
A consumer engagement. What's happening? What can you see or hear? How are customers at DM involved? I'd like to know about that. Involved? Do you talk to people shopping? Do you talk to people at the shelves? How do you know that people like the brand other than just looking at sales figures? Good question. Again, the connection with the trainees is important because there are trainees in the individual stores. So, of course, they return the customer feedback to the stores. Jesse and I are there a lot, but it's completely different when you spend every day in the store. So we have 2 angles. One is the angle of the young generation, which we don't have, and the other angle is the one from the stores, from their everyday life, everyday business. Last time they said people having troubles with the closing, so people take the tube out of the shelf and they can't open it properly. That's what they see every day. So of course we also have standardized questionnaires, we also have a large survey, conducted a survey with 1,000 DM customers, but sometimes it's more valuable to see directly what's happening in the stores, and of course that's what the trainees tell us because they are there. Maybe another question. Do you already have some insight about lifestyles being changed? With whom? Well, of the customers, of course. I mean, with you, it's clear, but is that a trigger where people go, oh, I haven't really thought about that you could use grapefruit peel to do something? Yes, we see that. We also see people who say, this is the first time I tried a shampoo bar, for example, because before there was only the ecological brands, and I tried yours, and they're actually surprised how well it works, that you can actually wash your hair with that. And another thing we see a lot is that people tell us that upcycling at the end, and that is a very good observation, upcycling is nothing new. The generation before us always worked like that. I mean, my grandmother would never throw anything away. She used everything. it's all upcycling. She used an empty yogurt can as a watering can or something, or she put in a plant and then that became a biotope. So it's the same idea. Take what you have and create something new with it. It's a completely different thing compared to I'll throw it out. So this is back to what used to be. In the last 2 generations, we've lost that thing. We just throw stuff out and it fills landfills. There's another question here. I'd like to know about procurement of the resources. Do you build your own supply chains or do you use existing suppliers who offer upcycled resources? Well, of course, ultimately, we are using the network that DM has in place, and we're seeing what suppliers meet our requirements. And it happened in this case as well. Somebody new is added to the chain. But if possible, of course, you will work with the existing partners. There's not too many partners specializing in that, I have to say. I have another question. How can you actually distinguish between an upcycled ingredient and does upcycling always have to be something innovative, or if any resource obtained from a core of something, is that always upcycled? But it doesn't have to be innovative as such. The important thing is that it is something that wouldn't be used in any other form, like the peel. Or we had the baby apples for No Planet B 1.0. Now for No Planet B 2.0 we have similar, like young fruit, which is plucked early, harvested early, so the harvest itself is bigger. So a supplier or producer has to certify that and has to confirm to us that that is actually the case, that the resource complies with this requirement. But it doesn't have to be a trendy ingredient. Was there another question here? I'd like to ask something else about the supply chain, because you said only 20% of products are made from upcycled ingredients. So what's the problem? How can you raise the content? Well, that's very easy to answer. Right now, it's just economic ability. With the upcycled company, we talked about that. There is a way to get to 100%, but then a shower gel would cost 40 or 50 euros. So it is still a question of money right now. We don't have enough ingredients at the moment. They are expensive. It's possible, but there's huge potential, as you can see. So something must be formed. And at No Planet B, we're trying to say, hey, the demand is there, but sometimes it's a chicken or egg thing. Like the producers say there's no demand, and the ones who could supply it say there's no supply. So we've seen similar situations before. And with the ingredients, we would like to accelerate that as well and say there actually is a demand, there is a market for that. Let's see whether we can find more ingredients, more things that are not competing with the food industry. And in your perception, how open are suppliers to that? Are they ready to accept that? Yes, we've seen broad support, otherwise it wouldn't have been possible. But of course there are still barriers. One is availability and one is affordability, particularly in a market where you have to make sure that you don't price yourself out of the market, so to say. But it's getting bigger and there's more supply. And if we can contribute to that with No Planet B, it will be a great success for us. Thank you. Are they in Germany? Are they anywhere? Our producers. Most of our producers are in Germany or neighboring states. So the supply chain is rather manageable. Can't speak for every product. We're in Germany, we have a supplier in Luxembourg, some in Italy, but it's all European core country. No more questions? Okay. Thank you for your lively discussion and for the many questions. If there's anything else, I'll still be here, but thank you so much for your attention and for your discussion. Thank you.